Awesome. You're all coming in. Hello, hello. Good to see you. Happy Wednesday. We were just talking about it because I'm a bit all over the place today. I was wondering what day is it today, but I got there in the end. So happy Wednesday, everyone.
Hello.
Oh, you were the first one. Thank you so much. Oh, but I can see some messages coming in the chat. We've got Happy Wednesday from Tyrell. Hi, Eugene. I can see these on camera. Awesome.
Hi, everyone.
Awesome. So you know the drill by now. There's just few more people who are connecting from the waiting room, so I'll let them join us. But in the meantime, I wanted to run through a few reminders as we're now in week 3 of the program. So we're wrapping up module 1. And that means the first task or the deadline for your first task is coming up quite soon. So I just wanted to remind you all that all of the instructions and templates are available on Accelerator app in courses section. I really encourage you to submit it within the deadline via our Google folder link. Because after the deadline passes on Monday, Tectonic will be reviewing all of these and they will choose top 3 submissions that will receive the incentive. And the incentive this time is a 2-month of LinkedIn Sales Navigator to help you continue with your customer validation piece. So definitely, I think it's worth it. It will not only benefit your business and your customers, but also just purely you get a bit of boost with the LinkedIn subscription. So, well, Charlotte is just connecting and I think she can hear us now. So let's start. It's 12:02, so we're ready to go. So welcome everyone once again to our first EMB Insight sessions. These sessions are actually one of my favorites because we get to bring people from the ecosystem, from MSDUK network, our members, to talk to you in a very informal way, very honest way about their experiences, their top tips. The purpose of these sessions is to really help you connect with new people that you haven't met, learn from their mistakes so that you can just improve going forward. And this is also a fantastic opportunity for you to ask questions and ask them to people who have almost been there, done that. So you can learn from their experience. And I'm super excited that this very first session is always run by our Accelerator alumni, because I think they have so much to offer and they survived this program and they're still here and they're still doing fantastic. So I wanted to introduce you to 3 founders. We've got Daniel, who is founder of Agave Networks, Eugene, CEO on Include Me, and Ankita, founder of First Planet. And first up, I'll let you introduce yourself. So maybe first, Daniel, you were the first one to be introduced, so I'll let you also say hello to everyone.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, thank you very much. So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Daniel Berth, founder, CEO of Agave Networks, and we basically help manufacturers and corporates to achieve net zero waste by relocating their excess materials with one another. So some people call us like the Tinder of waste because we find the best potential relocation opportunity for those materials. And yeah, I mean, quick story about myself. Like we joined here. I mean, we came to London 1 year ago specifically, and then we applied to the MSDUK acceleration program. Then yeah, thanks to this, we have been growing a little bit. So yeah, thank you very much, Carolina, for having me.
Awesome, thank you. Ankita, do you want to go next?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. Really excited to see some of you, but meet some of you. It'll be nice to see your faces so that when we meet in conferences, we'll be able to say hello. I joined one of the first accelerator from MSDUK, and I'm the founder of First Planet, and First Planet is the digital platform that is looking to rapidly accelerate adoption of sustainability in the building sector. When I joined MSDUK, I had no idea what I was getting into, but I have to say it was one of the best decisions I've made. So I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about that and why I felt that way. But yeah, other than that, I'll share more through the session.
Awesome. Thank you, Ankita. And Eugene, do you want to say hello?
Hi, everyone. Nice to virtually meet you all, nearly. I am the founder and CEO of Include Me Consulting. And these two here that you're meeting are two of my heroes, one from my cohort and one from the cohort before, people that I have followed through this journey. So I'm really excited to be here with them and with you. Our company helps leaders of all sorts of different kinds of organizations to do inclusion more inclusively. So we start from the premise that by including your people, you can create better engagement, better productivity, and therefore your company can be more successful. So it goes beyond the tick box, and it helps organizations to become truly inclusive from the bottom up. Like Ankita, I have to say, when I first looked at MSDUK, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. But like actually everyone on our cohort would say, it's the very best decision they ever made for their businesses and for their own personal development. I'm looking forward to talking a bit more about that with you.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for the kind words from the start. But now I wanted to talk a little bit more about your business and your story. And also some of you started touching on that in terms of what made you apply to the accelerator. So let's start with that. But I want to let you choose. So which one of you would like to go first? Okay, Daniel, you're first to unmute. Go for it.
Yeah. So as I was mentioning, why did I apply and where everything started? So like, I'm originally from Mexico. I did my master's here at Imperial College, like 2019. And then of course the pandemic happened, so I had to come back to Mexico. So I was like in a situation where I have another startup, I have another company kind of like running online because of this pandemic. But then I wanted to come to London and let's say run this business that I had in my mind for 7 years ago. So in 7 years ago, my brother and I, we started helping manufacturers to resell their surplus. So we were kind of like reselling their stuff on the informal market in Mexico. So the idea was already being developing for like quite some years. But then we had the idea of how can we create this as a scalable business where every other manufacturer and corporate can easily share their materials so that they don't send it to waste. So then, I mean, long story short, we got the visa to come as a startup. It's called startup visa to come here to the UK and run the business from here. So then, I mean, long story short, my brother, he's my co-founder, of course. We decided like it was too much risk for the both of us to basically come to London with our savings and run the business because we didn't have much, of course. So we decided like he's going to be working full time while I'm going to be working full time on the startup, like Agave Networks. So you can just imagine, like 1 year ago, we came from nothing, and then suddenly on Monday I wake up and I was like, okay, so what's the plan, right? Like, what am I going to do? So what I decided was like first create a list of opportunities that I can be applying as a startup, so that it could help me to at least gain network and start, rolling the dice and get the stuff going. Because it was very difficult for me as an entrepreneur to just come to London and start doing business like the next day. So one of those opportunities I found, it was MSDUK. I don't know how I found you guys, to be honest, but I think it was like LinkedIn or something. And then I applied to the acceleration program. And then this is where we started like actually working. Yeah, so that's that's how everything started. I mean, and yeah, at the end, like everything started moving slowly, but it was kind of like the first decision that we take when coming to London, and honestly, it has helped us like so much. But yeah, I don't know if I answered the question, but yeah, that was kind of like how everything started.
Awesome. You answered it to me, Daniel. It's great to hear about, what's happening for you as you were starting. I always love these stories because every single founder has a slightly different one. With that, maybe Eugene, do you want to go next?
If I can find my unmute button, yes, absolutely. So I was thinking as Daniel was speaking, where my journey started with my cohort, but actually my journey with MSDUK started on the cohort before, because I applied to that with a completely different business and thought, yeah, I know exactly what I need to be doing here, because I'm a former banker, I'm a former consultant who has helped many organizations to be more successful at what they do, which invariably means the development of their people. And so I thought, well, I know exactly what this organization needs to hear, and I put my application in, and I was turned down, and I thought, this cannot be. How on earth did they turn me down? And it turned out that actually I was really not at all prepared for being on that side of a business. So not the development part, or sorry, not the helping people develop part, but actually being on the part where I'm doing the developing and looking for the support. As I say, my history is many and varied in terms of supporting different kinds of organization. And every time we got to the nitty-gritty, it actually boiled down to be all about how you develop people, how you look after your people, how you make sure that those people feel engaged, and how those people turn up to work to want to be productive, to want to take ownership of their roles on an everyday basis. And I guess a combination of COVID and lockdown encouraged me to go from being a generalist in that space and almost doing inclusion sort of under the radar, to being somebody who said, actually, let's turn this into the front line of our business. And so the second cohort was announced, and I thought, well, I think we have something here. And I kind of knew what I'd not given in terms of really good answers and a good infrastructure in my first cohort. So I put my application in, and still, if I'm really honest, I didn't really appreciate what a gold mine the Accelerator course was going to be for me. As I say, I came in thinking, actually, I know how to help people develop their business. So of course I know how to develop my own business, and yeah, let's play. Every single session I did, every single interaction, every single meeting with co-founders, I learned something. I learned something new. I grew a little. I was able to apply that to our business and the development of our business, and we're the better for it.
Thank you, Eugene. Did I interrupt you?
Not at all. I was about to say, did I answer the question, Carolina?
Yes, and I wanted to share as well. I remember when you were thinking of applying for the second cohort, and we had a long chat on the phone as I was explaining to you what's involved in all of that. So I must say I was really happy to see that you ended up applying again. And thank you for touching on the very first element that we try to highlight on this program, in terms of being open-minded and letting yourself trust these facilitators and kind of giving it a go with the sessions. So thank you, Eugene. And now, Ankita, tell us about your origin story.
Yeah, no, very exciting. And actually, it's really interesting to hear, Daniel, your and Eugene's background. I didn't know that myself. So really, really interesting. I came into, entrepreneurship very reluctantly, frankly. I was a professional. I worked as an architect for many years and as a researcher. Great career and everything. I set up a consultancy first, and I realized that actually what I wanted to do needed to scale to be able to really, meet the purpose of everything that I did. So for me, it was about purpose coming into entrepreneurship, and very, very strongly so. And in a way, I think I came in very apprehensive and nervous about becoming a startup founder. I knew there were challenges to it. I was female, I was older, I was experienced, and I thought, this is not really for me, but I'm going to give it a shot, because I am really, really, really wanting to do this. So I kind of came at it backwards, and I spent quite a lot of time actually doing research. So if you imagine, I didn't set up a business and sort of like go into startup saying, well, you know, we're going to turn this into business. It was more like, how are we going to add value? Where are we going to, you know, we need to do R&D. We need to actually create a system. And once we have enough evidence and enough systems, then we will turn it into a business. And I think in a way, I was a bit avoidant of setting up a business because I was inexperienced. I was terrified of sales, marketing, and everything that meant. But at that time, I rationalized this is the right way to do it. And also, coming into it, it was COVID. So, you know, when I set up First Planet, it was literally March 2020. We were shutting down. And I was delighted. I was like, yeah, I can just geek out on, you know, the product, on the research, what we need to do. I don't have to meet anyone. I created a team around me, and, you know, coming in as a solo founder, first-time founder, female founder, I knew that, you know, the odds were stacked against me. Very, very nervous about certain things. And at some point, because I had done a master's at UCL and I went in through a launch program at UCL, which basically just skimmed the surface of what you need to learn as a startup founder. It kind of touched upon a few things. But what happened was I met, you know, one of the advisors at UCL pointed me towards MSDUK, and she said, listen, her name is Juliana Topasli, and she said, listen, you know, here is an email that these guys have sent out. I don't really know, it's the first time they're doing this. Might as well try this. And I looked into it and I thought, well, this looks interesting. I didn't know for what reason though, you know, but I was like in COVID, isolated, remote working. And I thought, you know what? I want to meet more people who look like me, who maybe are on the same path as me, who are maybe as nervous about entering this sort of very biased space. I mean, architecture is biased, but, you know, if you look at the startup world, there's a huge amount of biases. And maybe I just want to hang out with people who are in a similar position as me, not knowing, just like what Eugenia said, what a gold mine this would be. And I have actually written down the word gold mine myself, because I kind of didn't appreciate what it would mean. And I kind of applied, and I don't know, Eugene, maybe you felt rejected. I was surprised I was accepted, you know, because I had put in so much, but I had literally applied the night before, you know, I didn't really know what I was doing. And, but getting in, and I think the first meeting that we had up in Birmingham, when I saw people, a lot of people who looked like me, who were also potentially nervous and didn't really know what they were doing. And some people were very experienced. So that mix was really good. And suddenly I felt like, ooh, I'm not alone. And to me, that was really important at that point. And maybe some of you feel that way. Maybe some of you have already, you know, got a cohort. But what it really meant was coming into this, it kind of felt like a family, that you were suddenly not alone. And that was my first experience of MSDUK. And I'll tell you more, but that's kind of where I want to stop now.
No, thank you, Ankita. I was picking up some of the things that you were mentioning. First of all, thank you for honesty in mentioning nervousness or uncertainty as you were doing these things, because that's something that's personally I want to fight as much as I can in this ecosystem about talking just about the positive stuff. And sometimes we don't have, or we don't mention these things because it makes us vulnerable in a way. So thank you. And thank you for highlighting the tribe, because that's something that it's really important for us, bringing the founders together and just creating the space for you to hang out, share, and use it in a way that serves you. So thank you. So I want to dive a bit deeper into the Accelerator right now, the program itself and how your experience was. And after that, I also want to touch on some of the stories that you have to share beyond the Accelerator, but related to MSDUK and your journey. And to the cohort who's in the room listening, of course, we are open to take any of the questions that you have. So if you think of something as you hear it, you can drop it in the chat and I'll pick it up. If not, we'll also have around 15 minutes at the end, so you can unmute your mic and just talk to our founders. So my first question is about the program. And there are a lot of elements related to it. We've got our master classes for the module. We've got expert in residence. By the way, Juliana is one of our experts in residence still. So Ankita, I think she mentioned her. Make sure you book a call with Juliana when you have a moment. But we've got master classes, experts in residence. We've got mentors. There is a content written by our facilitators that you can digest in your own time on Accelerator app. There is a lot going on. We realize that this is an intensive program. We meet you guys 3 times a week. We know that you're putting a lot of hours to complete the task. And the program was supposed to be that way. It's supposed to challenge you. And we're still working on that balance between being achievable but challenging enough. So with all of that going on, which elements of the program did you find most useful and why? And maybe Eugene, do you want to go first?
Brilliant. Thanks, Carolina. So I was pondering this ahead of this session because I figured it might be a question that you would ask. And I have to say, for different reasons, there were so many parts of the program that were just right at just the right time, which said to me that actually it had been constructed in a brilliant way to build on each other, each session, to build on almost on the last, even though actually you could come to each session, it was a nice discrete masterclass session, but actually I had a real sense that had I not done the work from the 2 sessions before, that actually I wouldn't have got quite the richness out of the session that I was in at that particular time. So I think if I had to pick out a session that has stayed with me most, it's probably the one with James Newell, which was the sort of clear sales message, or being able to introduce yourselves in the most succinct way. I'm not suggesting necessarily that I've learned all the lessons from that quite yet. It's still a work in progress, but what came out of that for me is that when you first meet somebody, you know, if you want to create a relationship that moves forward, getting out of yourself what it is that you do and getting onto being able to talk about what the other person's doing and and how those things might connect, is the best way to kind of network and to build a relationship with both people within your cohort, other founders from different cohorts, but also just anybody that you speak to about what it is you do. So I found that really great. But if I had to pick something that I thought was the best thing out of the whole of the journey, I have to say, Antika's actually probably referenced it already. It's everybody else. It's all of the founders. It's spending time just speaking to each other and just learning from each other's backgrounds and each other's experiences and the challenges each other has, learning that actually everyone's a little bit nervous and feels a little bit of imposter syndrome about the journey that they're endeavoring to take, and gaining the confidence of knowing, first of all, we're all in the same boat. We all have many of the same challenges, but actually some of the challenges you have, others might have combated already, and learning from them how you might go about doing it. As I said right in my introduction, every single session, what I learned, the people I learned from probably most were the other people in the group talking about their own personal experiences. And I found myself scribbling things that they'd said, as well as the things that the experts were saying, and applying it to what I was trying to do, and growing what we were doing exponentially from there.
Thank you, Eugene. Daniel, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I mean, I think like what Eugene is saying, I think that's very true. I think like I just want to start this comment with like, I think like everybody else applied with different reasons for the acceleration program, right? And everybody else, or every startup or company, it's on a different stage of their development, right? So I came to the MSDUK acceleration with zero, like with nothing. Like we just have the idea. Yes, we had some background of doing something similar. We had the vision. We didn't have the logo. We didn't have, I mean, we have the name. That's it. We have the vision. and we have the passion, I guess. That's something we had. So for me, or for us, the most important part of the acceleration program was first, I like to say like the open door. I don't know what you think about that, Eugene. Like it's like the network that you build, right? For me, I mean, Eugene and I, we were in the same cohort again. So the network of the startups was one, because everybody else was doing another thing, right? Like Eugene is like in consulting. We were kind of like software waste, and other people were doing other stuff, e-commerce, etc. So like it's learning from the others and their hustles. So that's great. Learning from other people's mistakes. I think that's great. But not only that, but like the open door of the network that, and I'm not trying to sell here, but like of the open door for the network of MSDUK, right? You're not gonna get like your $1 million opportunity tomorrow, probably, or probably yes. But like the opportunity to go and speak with people that are on the same network. Wow, that was for me one of the most important parts. So the network, and definitely for me the master classes, like the workshops. I'm gonna say like my little story here, Colin. I don't know if you want me to say it, but like I was not attending the first master classes, to be honest. I was the one, you know, when I was attending, I was putting my video you know, black without the camera. I was not like participating and everything. And then like whatever, like on a Monday 10 a.m. Carolina just like called me, and she was like, "Hey, what's up? This is Daniel." And yeah, what's up? So this is Carolina from MSDUK. I just want to know if you're gonna be coming or not, right? And I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah." So then I went to the acceleration app, to MSDUK acceleration app, and I kind of like saw all the, or I think I missed like two workshops. I saw the recordings, and I was like, I think I'm missing out on a lot. So what I wanted to say like is the master classes were for me very important, but only because I put the work, right? Only because I put my energy in that. I actually did at the end. I think I went from 0 to 100 in the acceleration program, because now I started to do the homework. Now I started to participate. Eugene, he was always participating. I was like, I want to be that guy. So I want to start like, you know, doing my homework, and that really helped me. Yeah, not only like to survive the acceleration program, but to actually take my business to the next level, which for me again was from 0 to 1, just like to get the little piece. Yeah, so I think like that was the most important part for me.
Well, thank you, Daniel. And I do remember that phone call that we had, and so I'm so glad that you know, we managed to sort it out, and you gave us a chance and attended more sessions, because it worked out quite well for everyone. But I remember it. So Ankita, if you had to choose masterclasses, expert in residence, mentor, community, which one stands out to you the most?
I think you can't unpick it. It's almost like saying, here is a human being, you know, which part would you like to take, the eyes or the hands? So I think it's all, I mean, I have to say, I was probably like Eugene, like super keen, you know, but also like, sorry, Eugene, but, do you know, like I was
honestly,
really...
I'm never going to be able to live up to that.
But, you know, I noticed like literally day one, like the first masterclass, it was value straight on for me, because what was really interesting was I came into MSDUK having read loads, you know. So as I said, I was geeking out anyway. So I was like reading all these articles daily, like learning about startups, like working and doing all of it. But actually, what was really interesting was the interaction, the human interaction. Like it was, you can read about a problem theoretically in so many ways, but the fact that you could talk to someone and you could say, well, yeah, this in theory is great. Like, okay, we should approach the market in this way and we should ask these questions, but I've done it and this is what's happened. It's bombed. And to be able to get that feedback in real time was so valuable. And that feedback came from many sources. It was through the masterclasses, it was through the cohort, it was again through the mentors, you know, the one-on-one sessions later down the line. You know, it was literally at every touch point, there was the value for me was the bespokeness of the issue that we could address by what we were doing, but also be connected to other ways of doing it that you may not have thought about, and then sort of cross connect and say, well, I've tried this and this didn't work. Why did it work for someone else? And why are they saying that this is so important? And you could ask that, so that I think was really great. And also I've been through a few accelerators since MSDUK, which we were really lucky and fortunate to have been selected for. And I still, if I actually think back, and again, this is like, we have not been paid by MSDUK to say this, so, this is not sponsored. But to think back, when I actually think back on my learning, and when I think back on things that were valuable, I always go back to the masterclass sessions. Like, what did so-and-so say? What was the process? What did they say? So to me, the value is not just in the moment. Of course, there's a lot of value in the moment on wherever you are on your journey. But what you realize is that you will come back to this process and come back to this journey again and again and again on your startup journey. And having had the whole process, no matter what you're learning at this time, somewhere in the journey, you will come back to either one of the different sessions and you will want to cross connect and follow the same pattern, because it's all about iteration, right? As you're growing in a startup, it's not linear. You're kind of in a spiral all the time. So what MSDUK presents or presented to us in cohort 1 was this opportunity to do the full circle. And then to take those circles and keep propelling forward. It's not going to be like, oh, I've learned everything and I'm done. Like, no, you learn a bit from what you're doing right now. You will come out of the sessions and you will go back to something and pick up on that, or you'll go back to a person, you'll pick up on that. So of course, there's so many touch points and there's so much value. So it's really hard to say which one, but I would say if there's anything, it's the masterclasses and the recordings of the masterclasses. That is not a one-time resource. It is a forever resource, and that is really the true value.
Oh, Eugene, I see you want to say something, so I'll let you do it. I just wanted to highlight, and thank you very much for that point, Ankita, because you've touched on a very important mindset aspect about iteration and being open to revisit topics that you might have covered before. That's something that is one of the challenges that we have in terms of communicating that to all of the founders that we interact with in different events, because we know how it is. Sometimes you want to move forward, and it's challenging to be open enough to revisit some of the things and be open enough to look at it from a new angle and see if there is something more to uncover there, things that you can change. So thank you for that point, Ankita.
I think it's really important, Carolina, to state that, because the need for speed is so high at least, in the world that I inhabit with, the software space, sort of the need for speed and iteration is so high that people forget how much of a spiral everyone is in. People don't talk about the spiral, but it's definitely a spiral. It's not a straight line, for sure. And if anybody's telling you it's a straight line, they're lying. Like, literally, I can say that with 100% confidence.
Okay, thank you, Eugene.
So Antika's kind of said most of it, actually, what I wanted to say. But I think it really is hugely important to recognize that everybody has a completely different why as to why they're doing these things. Everybody has a different stage that they're at along the journey, and the pace at which they can engage with the courses and the challenges they have engaging with the accelerator it could be really difficult for somebody, it could be really easy for another organization, depending on where a founder and organization, depending on where they are. And that ability to be able to go back and look at those recordings and revisit and to reskill or to just remind yourself is for me critically important. But the main reason I put my hand up was to say one of the things that actually I think I found really useful was you, Carolina, and the team in the background being able to, if I had literally any question, and you answered one or two weird ones from me, so if I literally had any question about what I could do or whatever, your answer was always, don't worry, we can sort that out. And you did. And it wasn't that we had to wait for like 5 days to get a response. Literally within half an hour of sending a message, somebody would respond to it. Somebody would. So you always felt throughout the journey supported. And that is one of the most invaluable parts of this accelerator that I think that many other accelerators don't have or don't think is the most is an important aspect that has to be completed.
Oh, thank you very much. You're making me blush, Eugene. So with that, we will open up for questions in the next 10 minutes. So I'm just giving everyone a reminder. But I wanted to also ask you about what happened beyond Accelerator, because it's also equally important. This program is 4 months long, but after that, you will, I'm talking now to cohort 3, you will be offered 1 year free membership with MSDUK, so you can continue developing these relationships. And we see this program as a start. We realize that it's a long journey. And I know, Daniel, you've touched on that a little bit in terms of engaging with a wider network. And, we're super proud of every single success that our graduates Accelerator alumni have, and we celebrate it with you, and every day whenever we hear about it. And every single one of you, I'm talking Eugene, Ankita, Daniel, you have an exciting thing to share with us in terms of what you've done. So I want to start with Daniel. Daniel, you actually have. Yeah. Last week, was it, that you were at the CBRE Innovation Challenge event? We were cheering up for Daniel so much here in the office, waiting for updates on how it's going. But Daniel, with you, I think the key was that whenever we send you an opportunity, you followed up, you applied to things, you came, you presented, you've done things. Tell me a bit more about how it was from your perspective.
Yeah, I think again, I'm coming from a perspective which, this is my way of thinking, right? Like, nothing is going to work unless you work, right? Unless you put the hours, unless you put your passion in it, right? So that's why I want to put my example as, like, in the beginning, I was not very, very engaged, or I was not putting my work, I was not putting the hours, etc., right? So after I kind of like started like digesting this chip of like, I need to be putting the work, then suddenly, kind of like magically, opportunities start to arise, right? And I think that's not necessarily like an MSDUK thing, right? That's in life, right? But yeah, talking about MSDUK, there was so much opportunities apart from the acceleration program. And there are some opportunities that, in my opinion, you don't know that you don't know. Like, there's so many opportunities out there from the corporates, from MSDUK, from all the opportunities that MSDUK literally sent us every week, etc. So yeah, Carolina, you were talking specifically at one opportunity that we kind of like grabbed, which was like the CBRE challenge. So CBRE, I don't know if you guys know who CBRE, but it's one of the, they're actually one of the corporates that are part of like MSDUK network. And they saw us pitching. Actually, we pitched together, Ankita and I, in the MSDUK Innovation Challenge. Probably Ankita will tell us more about that. But then we got so many connections in CBRE that they invited us to their Innovation Challenge, where we pitch our solution to basically hundreds of clients of CBRE and CBRE, like let's say C-suite members, etc. So it was a great opportunity again. And again, everybody else comes from a different perspective. So we come to basically to work with corporates. So don't necessarily mean that just because we are having these interactions with corporates, that means that we're going to be closing a sale tomorrow, right? But at least it's an open door. Again, it's an open door for me or for everybody to go and open that door and speak with that person and make it happen. So yeah, at the end, long story short, we didn't win the Innovation Challenge, but you won like a little like award, which I don't need the award, right? What I need is like actually go and speak to people, and that's what I did. So at the end, I think like we won. But yeah, it was great, and as this example, we have done like every other opportunity out there with some of the MSDUK corporates, and yeah, it's been only a year. I think it sounds crazy. I can't believe like it's been a year.
Yeah, no, thank you, Daniel. I must say, this was big for us, and we were so proud of you, because with that CBRE Innovation Challenge, there were over 100 applications, and you were in the top 12 who managed to actually pitch. And thank you for the point of making the most of people in the room that you have. And on that note, I want to ask Eugene a question, because everyone, when you attend an MSDUK event, most likely you'll see Eugene floating around in the room. And when you see him networking, just pay attention, I must say. See how Eugene owns the room and is able to strike a conversation with anyone. So Eugene, can you tell us a bit more about your secret? How do you approach networking and attending an event that you don't know everyone in the room?
I can most certainly do that, but I have to say, I don't know that I'm the master and mistress of this space. There are two other people here who I think I watch them and I think I need to be as good as they are. But look, my approach is, first of all, if you're not in the room, you don't get an opportunity to speak to people. So I try and make sure that the very many, as Daniel was saying, the very many opportunities that there are to be in a room that has been curated by you and the team, I want to be in that room, because I know that there are going to be people in there that I can learn from, that I can grow from, and that I can help our business grow from. We're very much in that learning and development stage at the moment. One of my aims by the end of our first year was to be in a position that we were generating enough money that we could continue to test the model of inclusion that we have, which is an innovation. So every time I'm going to an event and talking to people, it's all about finding out who they are and what they do. And as I said, one of the nice things is, if you can get out the way, first of all, who you are and what it is that you do in a really clear and succinct way, you can get to the really important part that allows for a relationship to grow with anybody that you say hello to, which is find out about them and what they do. I smile a lot, which either makes people think I'm the idiot in the corner. Well, actually, I'm never in the corner, but you get the idea. Or actually, I need to find out what the guy's smiling about. But I just say hello to everybody, because, everybody in the room is there because they are passionate about what it is that we're all doing together in our own spaces. They're passionate about their space. And you know what? I've not found anybody who isn't really keen to talk about what they do and to find out about what I do, so that when we are interacting, we can find those points of synergy. And sometimes, it's really, really interesting. Even when there are no obvious points of synergy, when people actually like the interaction, they want it to continue, because to Daniel's point, you never actually know what you don't know. You never know what will come from a conversation. And there have been so many that I've had where the person I've spoken to has not been the person I end up doing something interesting with, but actually somebody that they happen to know. And they go, you know what? I know somebody who needs to hear what it is you're talking about, or who I think might be able to help you on your learning journey, or whatever the case may be. And the last part about that is, when you're in a room and people don't feel that you're trying to sell to them, but what you're actually trying to do is just learn, just find out, engage. People feel really comfortable. They feel really comfortable about talking with you. They feel really comfortable about sharing with you. And it's just always been, and it's not just the MSD UK events, any events that I go to, it's just a joy to know that by the end of the day, I'm going to have learned so much. I'm going to have come away with having connected with so many people that again, I don't know what they'll lead to, but I've enjoyed the interaction. So why not?
Thank you, Eugene. And as you were speaking, we've got a question from Rinal in the chat. He's preparing for a talk about networking. And I think you touched on that, but it's a question to the panel. So if Ankita or Daniel, you want to add, what is one most important tip you would advise for someone looking to get better at networking?
I just want to add to what Eugene has said, because it is a fundamentally important thing to connect in networking and to not feel the pressure that you have to meet everyone for a few seconds. One of the top tips I've learned through my experience in my career before startup and also now is that if you go into an event with the notion that I will make 3 or 4 meaningful conversations and interactions, and that is all that I will have, that is way more valuable than having said hello to like 50 people and not connected at all. And I think people feel the pressure in networking that you have to talk to everyone and you have to have some interaction with everyone. Actually, that's not true, because you're actually going to build relationships one at a time in life anyway. It's always one at a time. It's never 1 to 100. They might know you, maybe it's brand recognition, but it'll not be a relationship, and people won't buy from you through that. They will buy from your one-to-ones eventually, depending on what you're doing. But yes, as a person to person, that is really important in my mind.
Love that. And I must say, when we were in London with Cohort 3 for the welcome event, one of the founders said the same thing to me, that when he goes to the events, his goal is just to have one meaningful conversation with someone. And I love that, because it's easy to achieve that, and it takes that pressure of networking off you. Like, if you think about it in these terms. So whoever owns that advice, make yourself known in the chat. Okay, and then Ankita, I wanted to ask. Oh yeah, go on, Eugene. Go on.
Sorry, I was just going to answer our colleague's question about the networking thing. I think the most important thing is to listen. One of the great joys that I have, and I don't aim to do the whole room, but I don't have a target of the number of people that I meet. But one of the great joys that I have is if I've really listened to people, I might actually be able to connect to people that I happen to have spoken to, who might do well from each other, and it's I think that listening is the key to that.
Thank you. So with that, I promised 15 minutes of time for questions. So let's do that. So does anyone want to unmute and ask a question to our speakers?
Well, just to finish off the circle, how about Daniel? What's his #1 tip?
Wow, thank you. Yeah, I guess to answer that question, I think we need to deep dive on what does networking means. I think it has very different meanings and in different contexts. So my tip will be, if you're talking about networking in a professional event, let's say a conference, right, like of buyers and sellers, I think my tip will be, this I learned this year. I was used to come to this event just just coming with a coffee and get a drink and see what happens without an objective. So I guess my first tip, if we're talking about networking or this type of professional buyer sales event, it's do your homework, at least one day before, know who's gonna be in the room, and start thinking what's the objective of you to even go to that event, right? I think, this is my opinion from an entrepreneur point of view. I think we are trained to do everything, right? We're trained to say yes to every other opportunity that comes. But whenever you come to these conferences, don't just do it just because you want to be there in the room and talking to people completely randomly. I think the first tip will be, do your homework, see who's going to be in the room and what it's actually you want to achieve with that person. And then again, I think you put it on the chat, what's the value that you're going to be adding to that person, right? And not necessarily that value is going to be a business opportunity or something. It's just for example, from my point of view, what Eugene is saying is listening to people. That's already great value, right? Some people, just by listening to them, you're offering your value. So I think that's the first one. But on the other point of view, my other tip will be, we as entrepreneurs, it's a difficult journey. Let's put it like that. Being an entrepreneur, it's a crazy journey. I think it's just, you're just a madman if you will decide to be an entrepreneur. So one of the first things you need to understand as an entrepreneur is to get the fear or control the fear of talking to people. That is my best tip. Like you need to, either you're like an extrovert or introvert, you need to train yourself to be comfortable with the uncomfortable that is feeling talking to someone that you don't know. And that's online and that's with people personally. So I guess that's my tip. And how I train that is like literally pushing myself to even say hi to random people in the gym, in the supermarket, in Tesco, you know, or like that makes me control that fear that I have of talking to strangers.
Thank you for that, Daniel. I don't want to take any more time because other people may have questions. I totally agree with you about you've got to be a mad man or mad woman or mad person to want to be an entrepreneur, because it's so hard and it's so fraught with risk, but it's also very enjoyable and rewarding. I love what you said about doing your homework and just being more specific in terms of adding value. The more value you can add, the better. Sometimes you connect with people and you don't do something with them immediately. You may do something in 6 months, a year, 2 years, but don't keep going to them unless you've got something. So there's various things. At the beginning and intermediate level, like we're talking about, going to events is one thing. The next thing is the advanced level of organizing your own events, creating content. And that's where the benefits of contacting with more influencers and more thought leaders and more CEOs, that is one of the major benefits when you start organizing your own events. But that's enough for me.
No, thank you very much. Marino, make a note. I might invite you for the next EMB Insights, you know, to share. But I've seen some comments in the chat. Is there anyone else who would like to ask a question?
Can I go? Is that all right?
Of course, Sam. Go for it.
Hi, I'm Sam. I'm the founder and CEO of Delenta. We are a coaching platform that provide technology for coaches and mentors and corporates around the world. So again, this is very, very friendly, amicable, pleasant to listen and watch you guys, you know, sharing your thoughts and your experience with the past Accelerator. So my question is, if there's something that you would do differently, or if you need to look back, that's that lesson, what that would be for you to sort of rethink and fix?
Yeah, I mean, I can answer that like very, very quickly. So first of all, Adrienne mentioned that, like, be in the room, right? For me, that means be present. And I just read a book, which I love. The book. It's called Focus. That's a book name. And this book talks about living a focused life, like living with focus. It's living a good life, right? So if you're already here, like meaning if you're already here in the MSDUK acceleration program, be in the room, ask your questions, like literally do your homework, do literally the homework that the masterclass workshop professors, etc., they are telling you to do it. I think that would be my biggest tip if I was going to do the acceleration program again. For me, a tip that I have for me will be taking notes. I mean, this is an advice for me because sometimes it's just very difficult to go through the slides or through a video. I would rather, you know, take some notes. So that's a tip for myself. And yeah, get to, you know, chat with the people, at least with your cohort, you know. I think you have a WhatsApp group, so just, you know, chat with them. You don't know how many opportunities could arise there.
Thank you, Daniel. Anybody else want to go? No.
Yeah, I think I can share something. I think one of the things that I feel I could have done better is spent a little bit more time on, during the accelerator, a little bit more time on the homework that was given. I think I underestimated the value of that. I loved the lectures. I took loads of notes. I, you know, totally hogged up the sessions. Now, one of the things I probably slacked off on a little bit, because there was too many things to do, frankly, was to not really execute on the learnings effectively. And I realized that, you know, somewhere in the mid session, I kind of started to falter a little bit more. I was keen in the beginning, and then somewhere in the middle, I was like, this is like a lot, right? I'm just going to focus on some of the other things. And I feel like I didn't get the best value out of that exercise, because I feel like those exercises, like I said earlier, you'll be in an iterative process. You'll be in a circle. So you might not practice that at that point, and you might think, I don't really need it right now. But the thing is, if you practice whatever it is that you're being taught in that environment, you learn that skill. And when you need to apply it later, you can apply it much more effectively and with less, I would say, apprehension or worry that you don't really know what you're doing. You kind of have acquired that skill. So I would say try and make time for that effort, because I feel like that is where some sessions I couldn't get the most out of. And now I'm thinking I'm at that stage where I need to go back and look at some of the product development stuff. And some of the sessions that were amazing, and I actually didn't really put in the effort on the Miro board. And I didn't do that because I was too overwhelmed or doing something else. And I feel like that exercise, if I would have done it at that point, I would have overcome my own apprehensions about it, and now I would have just been iterating on that, doing it, much more often than I'm doing at the moment. So I think that would be one of the things, and I think beyond that is everything else, like MSDUK just pushed you into doing it. Like, you don't have to think that much. They already have created an environment where you are, you're nurtured. So I think during the program, you're well nurtured. I think after the program is to go back and dip into those resources that you need. And I have done that many times since, in many ways.
Great.
And I just really want to reiterate what Antique has just said, because that was what I was going to say. Make the time. And she's clearly great, because she's going back and doing, redoing some of those sessions, but there is no substitute to doing it at the time with your cohort, which then brings me on to the second sort of piece of advice or thing that I think that I wish I'd done more of, which was interact with the cohort during those homework and lesson times, those masterclass times, because actually everybody is likely to be as stressed, or certainly finding a bit of a struggle with some of the things as you might be. And it's amazing how on the occasion that I did kind of reach out and say, hey guys, anyone having a little bit of a problem with this as well? And you go, oh my God, thank God somebody else is having a problem with it. And you end up working through it together. You always think you'll have time later on to go back to it if you've missed a session. Right. Actually, do you know what? In reality, that's tougher to do than you think. So hats off to Antica that she's doing it. I have to say, I've said I'm going to do it, and I struggled to actually keep going back, even to the sessions that I feel I really want to go to actually remind myself of those sessions. So make the time to do it at the time. You'll always think, it doesn't matter if I miss this session, I can catch up. I promise you, it is such an intense course, Accelerator, and you don't want to miss one single bit of it if you can possibly help it. And if you do miss it, catch up as quickly as you can, because as I said earlier, the next session is likely to be referring to something that if you've learned it in the previous session or 2 sessions before, it'll make what you're doing in this session much easier. So that would be what I would do better if I did it again.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Eugene and everyone. Yeah, Colin, this is amazing. Thank you for organizing this. I love this.
I'm glad to hear you're enjoying it, and thank you for your question, Sam. So with that actually brings me to the end of 1 hour that we had with our fantastic founders. So I want to say, Ankita, Eugene, Daniel, thank you so much for your continuous engagement, for being open to share the insights, for answering questions. And I'm sure we will see you at the next event, or there will be other opportunities. So now I'm speaking to our founders on Cohort 3. I would love to hear your thoughts and your insights. You feel free to use the WhatsApp group that we have for our cohort to share some of the points. I think I'll share some of mine as well. And with that, thank you very much. We'll see you on Friday for our peer mastermind. I encourage you to give it a go and attend this session as well. It will be similar in format to what we've just done today. It will be just less of me speaking. Actually, I won't be speaking at all. These peer masterminds are there to help you talk to one another, talk through the challenges. You will be setting up the theme based on what is going on with you right now. So we're experimenting with the format. We'll be tweaking it to make it work for you. But I think there's a lot of value in that sharing. So once again, Daniel, Eugene, and Kita, thank you very, very much for today.
Thank you all, and enjoy and have fun. And
Thank you very much,
hopefully meet
everyone.
you at some of these conferences or sessions.
Thank you very
Let's do
much.
it. Thank you,
Feel
guys.
feel free to
Yes.
connect, guys, if you have any questions at all. And good luck with it all.
I will. Cheers. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.